Trinity? Could you tell me the reason why you and your husband were in my room earlier? If you guys are planning to stay the night here, would you both please go to the guest bedroom? Oh, hi, Ari. I was surprised that you actually went outside the house for once, but I guess you're home now. This place is my home, so of course I'd be coming back. Now, could you and your husband please come here and get your things out of my room? What? What's wrong with us wanting to be in there? Do you really think it's a bad thing that my husband and I want to get a taste of what this room feels like in this penthouse here? Then go to the guest bedroom. It has the same view as my room, but the only difference is that it's not already occupied. We only just put our stuff down in there, though. You really think you can just come into this house and do as you please? I'm sorry, but my bed is off limits to anyone else as it was specifically made to my needs. I get that it's comfy, but it's not meant for you. Oh? So you found out what I was really after in that room then? Well, if you chose my room over the guest bedroom, the only real difference is the bed, so that was pretty obvious to me. If you and your husband do anything in that bed while I'm out of the house, I am telling you right now that you'll both be charged $10,000 to get me a new one. $10,000 is what you paid for that? You really expect me to believe something like that? I hope you do, considering that's the price I had to pay. So come and get your things right now. The fact that everything always has to be about you is so annoying. Ari, you've really gone and done it this time. What did I do? You went and took some of my money out of my purse, right? Huh? I am not in that much of a need for money where I'd do something like that to my own sister. Yeah, sure. That's probably because you're always taking mom and dad's money like some thieving parasite. What did you say? What are you talking about? The other day, I was in your bedroom, right? Well, I had accidentally left my purse in there when you kicked my husband and I out. So when I went in there to grab it today, there should have been around $500 in it, but there was only $200. Huh? I don't know what happened to your money. Actually, I never even saw that your purse was left in my room these past couple of days. Did you really forget to take it out of my bedroom the other day? That's what I expected the criminal to start saying next. I already had a talk with both mom and dad, and they told me they never went into your room. So that would mean while my purse was forgotten about in your room, you found it and took $300 out of it before putting it back where I had forgotten it. This is so stupid. So you're not going to confess to any of it? Hey, Trinity, could all of this be happening because you want to start living in my penthouse? We are not talking about your penthouse right now. This is about that money which was in my purse. I want you to give me back that $300 you stole from me first before we talk about anything else here. I told you I don't know what happened to your money. Jeez, Ari, this is exactly the reason for why you're 40 years old and can't get married still, right? Now, what does that have to do with anything? You know what a lot of people call women like you? They call you a middle-aged woman still living in her nursery room. Huh? You don't work any kind of a job and you live off the money your parents make. A 40-year-old useless shut-in. I have a job, though. You have no idea how hard it is to make money in this world and probably still think it just grows on trees or something. And that's why you ended up stealing my money from my purse. I have told you 3 times now, I don't know anything about that purse. It's so upsetting that a woman in her 40s had to steal money from her little sister. For Christ's sake. So you have no interest in actually listening to anything I have to say, do you? I'm not going to think of some money-stealing criminal woman as my older sister anymore, so it's over between you and I. I'm cutting ties to you. From now on, my husband and I will be living in this penthouse. It kind of sucks that mom and dad are still going to be living here with us, but that will only last a couple more years before they both croak. And while they're still around, they'll make for 2 great housekeepers. So this is goodbye to you, Ari. Have fun on the streets now after you're kicked out of this place. I knew this is what you were wanting. I have to say, the fact that you've already lived close to half of your life and have still not gotten a taste of the real world is really disappointing. So hopefully, kicking you out of this penthouse once and for all helps you grow a little. Aren't you embarrassed to be 40 now and still not have any experience working for a company? And that's not even as bad as how ashamed you should be feeling for stealing $300 out of my purse. I'm not unemployed, and I was not the one that stole your money. But if this is how you want to play this game, then I'll play along with you. I'll be out of this place as soon as possible. Good, good, good. I will praise you on the fact that you came around to accepting your crimes pretty quickly there. I want you out of this penthouse in 1 hour, all right? Once again, I'm going to have to praise you for getting all your things together and moving out of this house in under an hour. Honestly, hearing praise from someone like you gives me the opposite feeling of being happy. I'm sure you're dying on the inside right now, right? That's right. That bet of yours, the $10,000 one. I'll be taking it now. So what you mean is you'll be paying me $10,000 to take it, right? What are you going on about? It wasn't even you that paid for the bet in the first place. It was Dad that got this thing for you. Excuse me? Really? Knowing about how you forced Dad to buy you this kind of an expensive bed, even though he was already paying for you to eat and sleep in this house, is really sly of you. And that pisses me off a little. I cannot believe that for the past 2 years, ever since you completely shut yourself into this place, you've done nothing but take advantage of others and make things all about yourself. You've received enough of everyone's money now, right? From now on, it's my turn to lay back and enjoy this fancy penthouse while Mom and Dad pay for my husband and I. Trinity, you really have no idea what you've gotten yourself into. Wait, it's more like you've just forgotten everything about what happened a few years ago. Trying to threaten me by saying some really vague and stupid things like that aren't going to scare me away. Don't you ever come back here, all right? Bye-bye. I'll hold you to that then. Ari, hey! What is this about this place costing $16,000 a month to live in? This penthouse has already been paid off by Dad now, right? He just came up to me and said that if I want to start living here with my husband forever, then we'll need to start paying the rent. And what's this about you having been the one paying the rent this whole time? What's Dad even going on about right now? How could a jobless parasite like you have had the money to afford a place like this? I told you I'm not unemployed, Trinity. And if you'd like a little more detail into what I'm doing for work, I'm running a decently sized company as the CEO. Stop lying, you idiot! Mom already told me about how you never leave the house except for maybe a couple of times a month. That's because I'm normally working remotely from my bedroom. And the only reason I really have to leave the house at all is to go to the office building and hold meetings or talk with some customers in person. That's what Mom meant by that. Now, listen here. We are not living in the 20th century anymore. This is the 21st century now, where people can be employed yet not ever have to leave their home. And recently, due to a lot of world events, companies have been more open to letting their employees work from home instead of having to make any commute into the office. I don't need to listen to you talking about all that crap. And another thing, Trinity, has your mental health gotten any better? I ask that because it seems that you've only gotten worse when it comes to how you twist situations to your benefit, so that you never have to listen to anything others are saying to you. Did you stop going to see that therapist or something? Come on! I had thought this whole time that Dad bought this amazing penthouse with the money he got from his pension after he left his company and retired. So you forgot what happened with Dad then when he retired? Come back here already, Ari! I can't do that. Remember that I'm holding you to your word now? And that word was you saying for me to never return there again. But there's nobody here that can afford to pay this kind of rent. Well, then you should have actually been listening to me. Shut the hell up. Ari! Both Mom and Dad left the penthouse. They even took all the things that were left over in your room and left. There's not a single person in this house that can help pay for the rent now. My husband's been telling me over and over again that he's not earning enough to pay for this place. $16,000 is way too crazy for him and I to afford. Well, it's not like you'll be paying it anyway, considering that this is the last month you can live in that penthouse. After that, the lease will be finished and you both will have to leave. What? I made sure to end my lease there a while ago, and this was the last month before the landlord said he'd be placing the penthouse back on the market. If you want to continue living there, then you'll have to apply for the place and hope you're accepted. But of course, that'll mean you both have to start paying rent. What the hell are you talking about? It's only been 2 years since you, Mom, and Dad moved into this place, right? I know that. And from the very beginning, we only really were planning to stay there for around 2 years. Why would you only want to stay for that short period of time? Trinity, because of you, Mom and Dad were no longer able to live in the house they had before. You know, the one you and I both grew up in? You seriously forgot literally everything that happened back then? What? You went and forced one of your former classmates to give up their husband and let you take him, right? And, well, that former classmate of yours, Grandpa, just so happened to be the technical owner of the land Mom and Dad's house was on. That man ended up getting very, very upset with you and the family and forced both Mom and Dad out of their house to have it torn down. And then he went and sold the land to someone else. But before he could do that, Dad was forced by him to pay for the house's demolition and for the land to be cleaned up, which cost Dad most of his retirement and all. What the hell? How? So that's what happened with you. You didn't forget about what happened, rather you just never cared about how it would later affect your parents. But Ari... I told Mom and Dad that I could step in and pay off the settlement that was being asked from them by your former classmate and her parents. But they told me it wasn't any of my responsibility. So I thought, at the very least, I would take Mom and Dad, who had lost their house at the fault of you, and I would put them in a penthouse with me, since the both of them had always wanted to live in one of the skyscrapers downtown. So after they had paid all their dues that you caused, they came to me and we moved into the penthouse together. Mom and Dad were in tears about what I was giving them, and I asked them how long they wanted to live there, and they both agreed on 2 years. So that's why your lease is over with now? Although I'm kind of surprised that Mom and Dad even allowed you to come over to my penthouse after all your cheating husband and thieving self had done to them. Huh? Are you aware why Mom and Dad were both living with me in that penthouse now? Because of all that you'd done. And if you'd like to know, the only reason you and your husband were actually allowed past security is because I allowed it. What the? I had always thought that Mom and Dad were so happy to pay off that settlement for me, and then chose to buy that penthouse with Dad's retirement after I left. And that you forced your way into there after leaving the part-time job you had and making them pay for all your needs. I thought that if Mom and Dad could afford a penthouse like that and pay for a full-grown woman like you, then they really were rich, and that got me all excited. Well, in reality, all of this was forced to happen because of what you'd done, and it was rough for all of us since. I really thought you already knew about everything that happened since you were the cause of all of it. I would really like to know what's inside that massive head of yours. It can't be considered a true brain or anything by any form of scientific method, can it? And this is why Mom and Dad were asking you to please go and see a therapist. I never thought my own sister would say that about me. Hey, can you tell me where Mom and Dad moved to? Not happening. Why not? Because they've both demanded that I never tell you. Then where have you moved to, Ari? I'm sure that things are so lonely for a single 40-year-old woman, right? My husband and I will come live with you to help make you feel better. What a freaking joke. I'm not even single anymore. What? You got married without telling me? That's right. Then how about you let my husband and I live there and we can all be a happy double couple family? I don't want you causing any trouble for my husband, so I'm not telling you where I live. No way. How about you stop acting like everything's about you and get real, Trinity? You have now not only been disowned by both Mom and Dad, but you've also lost the privilege of calling me your older sister. What? Honestly, something like this should have happened a lot sooner. I think right after you stole that man away from someone else and married him, while also causing both Mom and Dad to lose their home and money, we all should have cut ties to you. Maybe Mom and Dad both thought that after a few years you'd change, but considering the kind of freak you are mentally, there is no way you'd get any better. You didn't even bother going through more therapy, instead just making up a plan to have me kicked out of the house by saying I stole your money. Ugh, there's no hope for you anymore. You're not going to be living in that penthouse for much longer, and you won't be finding any of us. Wait! The apartment my husband and I had been living in before, we ended the lease on it, so... Well, that penthouse's lease is also ending, so find somewhere new to live from now on. But there's nowhere left we can go! Make sure you're out of there before the end of this month. Goodbye forever. Wait a second, Ari! We can figure something out for me. Trinity and I are 10 years apart in age, which means she's 30 years old now, yet you probably would never be able to guess that by the way she acts so much like a selfish and spoiled brat. Ever since I can remember, she's always been wanting the things I had. But who could have seen her behavior getting any worse to the point she'd go after other people's things, like their husband? And it's a bit more than 2 years since that happened. These last 2 years, my parents and I have done our best to move past the horrible memories she implanted in us. But after thinking she'd be back a better person, she only proved to us that her mental health was not fixable. And because of that, she's no longer a part of this family. On the day her and her husband had to leave that penthouse, they got into this huge fight that led to their divorce. But the issue there was that my sister had no money at all, so she couldn't afford to even rent the most basic of places. Therefore, she had to contact my rather hard ass of an aunt, who came and picked her up to move out with them and work on their farm. Our aunt went ahead and made a deal with Trinity, which was that by working on her farm and paying my parents back every cent they lost because of her 2 years ago, she would not have to be abandoned by the rest of the larger family as well. Seems that her life of having no money at all is going to continue on for a couple more years now.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and hit the like button. See you next time.